Hello, today I want to talk about the meaning of the film Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day is a film about life and routine. The question voiced by Phil Connors itself fully applies to each of us. And what would you do if every day of your life was no different from the previous one and there was nothing you could do about it? We have all experienced this feeling of being stuck in one moment of life and everything is repeated over and over again. We get up, hate the alarm clock, drive to work on the same road, talk to the same people, do the same things on a schedule, return tired and broken at home. We do the same things as yesterday, the same things we will do tomorrow, we fall asleep. The cycle is repeated. You can see repetition as a fantastic assumption or a kind of curse, or as a metaphor for the routine in our lives. When we first see Phil, he stands in front of a blue screen and reads the weather forecast. This subtly hints to us that his life is artificial. He experiences almost no emotions, he simply exists. He is only interested in himself. No one else and nothing interests him. In this context, it is quite appropriate that he bears the same name as the groundhog, which everyone takes care of, which everyone loves. Also around Phil Connors, everyone is trying to lend a helping hand, but Phil is too self-absorbed to notice others or just think about them. Even on the very first day, before it starts to repeat itself, Phil acts like everything and repeats itself over and over again, and has already managed to get bored of him. The same thing repeats year after year. This guy knocks on the door with a stick, they pull out the unfortunate rat and ask her a question. She answers and we know the future. He knows how this ceremony takes place and does not believe that there is any reason for all this, that there is a meaning in all this. When the day begins anew and all subsequent days are the same as the previous one, we must ask ourselves if this is really different from how Phil lived his life up to this point. Every day looks the same. He wakes up, goes to work, does his duty, then hurries home. Nothing significant happens in his life. Groundhog Day is a critique of everyday life and routine. Why do we do what we do if it all makes no sense? There is no meaning to our actions, there is no logical ending. And is there a way out of this endless cycle? The short answer is yes. Using the example of Phil Connors, it is not difficult to trace all the stages of accepting a routine and the path that needs to be taken in order to get out of the cyclical everyday life. This is a film about what causes changes in life, which can make us abandon the established boring schedule that does not change from day to day, to do what energizes and allows you to feel better not only for us but also for the people around us. According to the film, this thing is love for others in the broadest sense. One day, Phil took a step towards her and woke up as a different person, able to appreciate things that he did not appreciate before. Moreover, things that he did not even think about. It is a film about the nature of change and Phil is just the perfect protagonist in this context because he just doesn't seem to be able to change. He is selfish. It is not enough for him that he has, although many would dream of being in his place. Phil thinks you're more important than he really is. He refuses to live in a cheap hotel with his colleagues. He considers himself a world celebrity. An interview with a groundhog for him is the maximum degree of humiliation. Rita summarizes that his main quality is precisely narcissism. He is not joking when he calls himself a god. The conclusion Phil comes to when he finds himself immortal. His main problem is that he is much less important than he thinks. A groundhog that doesn't affect anything doesn't matter. Phil is like an animal, a forecaster who predicts the weather with varying degrees of success. Pay attention to how Rita describes the ritual with a groundhog that does not want to get out of its hole. And this fully reflects Phil's situation. According to the ritual, winter will continue if the groundhog sees his shadow. The same rules apply to Phil. For him, the winter will end only if he gets rid of his shadow, that is, the loop will disappear only if he parted with his ego. Phil is a reflection of each of us, our laziness and unwillingness to change anything. Circumstances lock him in a place where nothing changes, but not metaphorically. Literally more than that. He finds himself locked in a small provincial town where nothing happens at all. Removing the animal from the house is a big event in such towns. Life flows slowly, the embodiment of boredom and routine. Circumstances make Phil immortal, because the expression, "he would rather die than change" is quite true in relation to Phil. For such guys, one life may not be enough to change, and Phil is forced to go through all the stages of accepting the gray reality. The same stages that we face in trying to get out of the routine. First we try to figure out what's wrong and where we took a wrong turn. Then we decide that the best way to break out of the routine is to go all out. But Phil clearly demonstrates that sooner or later entertainment turns into the same routine. Then we try to fight it if we don't find the answer. We get depressed. Someone gets drunk and someone begins to attend very dark thoughts. Phil's life is one big cycle with no beginning and no end. He just wants it all to end. Numerous attempts to break the cycle end in failure, and then he begins to come to the understanding that there is something more than self-centeredness. He lived for 1,000 days but nothing changed because he did the same things in different forms, but in general nothing changed. It was all the same day. Same as the first one. Phil had decades to realize. He froze in one moment of his life without aging. We don't have those extra decades. One day he spends a great day with Rita. He was close to an answer. Every day can be good if you try hard. But Phil only catered to Rita for selfish purposes, and only by opening up to her, trying to share warmth, and not take it, does he begin to understand what he really needs. Rita stays in his room. Phil wakes up alone in the morning. Outside the window is still the same day. Groundhog Day. Phil truly fell in love with Rita. He ceases to control everything. Stops taking. He starts to give. He greets people with a smile and warmth. Reads books. Plays music and ice sculpture. If at first he lives as if there is no tomorrow, then at the end of the film he does exactly the opposite. He lives as if tomorrow will come, although he is sure that this will not happen. Every day he catches a boy falling from a tree, saves Lester from suffocation. He changes the wheel for lovely ladies and even ensures his life knowing that he is not able to cripple himself. It seems like it makes no sense, but for Phil it matters. Here the cycle of Phil's days is broken. The last day that he experiences is the day in which he lives for others, giving himself completely to them. Letting go of your selfishness. The day ends when he stops seeing his shadow. At the end of the film, he breaks out not so much from the loop of Groundhog Day, but from everyday life and routine. After all, the only barrier that did not allow him to live the day otherwise was in his head. You will live the same day as long as you do the same things. Routine. Even with a huge resource, it is not always possible to change the environment. But what we really can do is to change our attitude towards others. All change starts within. Love for people. It is she who will help to overcome gray everyday life and live happily. Subscribe to Mr. Brief.